The United States is undoubtedly a big country, one of the largest to be exact. The vast expanses of this state became home to millions of creatures that inhabit its diverse climate zones. However, not all of them made it until today. For the past 200 years, since the establishment of the United States, many animals have become extinct due to human expansion and harmful activity. The North American continent will never look the same without them, but learning these examples can help us to save the rest from dying out. The first animal on the list is one that has gained massive popularity by becoming a national symbol of California, and for a good reason, because we are talking about the California grizzly bear. It's an extinct subspecies of the brown bear that was native to what is now called California, where they were widespread across the entire state. With an estimated body weight of over 1,000 pounds or 400 kilograms, and razor-sharp claws that could measure up to 4 inches or 10 centimeters long, male species were undoubtedly the most fearsome predators of California, with a highly divergent diet that consisted of both plant and animal sources. They were primarily solitary, except for mothers with cubs. Still, it was estimated that some bears gathered in small groups in places with plentiful food sources, especially at salmon spawning grounds and whale carcasses. In the early to mid-19th century, livestock from the ranches of California provided an abundance of food sources for the bears, allowing the grizzly population to expand rapidly. However, it became a turning point for the local farmers, who found them a significant threat to their cattle. This coincided with an increased interest in bear hunting, both for sport and economic purposes, which led to a significant decrease in the bear population. In less than 75 years since California joined the United States, the entire grizzly population in the region had been wiped out. The last confirmed California grizzly bear was shot in 1922, and 2 years later, it was spotted for the last time in Sequoia National Park. Thereafter, grizzlies were never seen again in California. However, today, they thrive best in more remote regions in the north, including Alaska, Canada, and Washington. Finally, in 1953, the California grizzly bear was declared the official state animal of California. Thanks to that, we still remember such a tremendous bear that once inhabited the Golden State. The second animal on the list lived on the opposite side of the country and preferred to inhabit the west forests of eastern Canada and the eastern United States, as far west as the Mississippi River. They were a valuable trophy and desired prey for many hunters, as we're talking about the eastern elk. It's an extinct subspecies of elk that was widespread across the eastern and southeastern parts of the country, inhabiting dense forests, Rocky Mountains, and wetlands of Louisiana. Males were often described as great and noble animals, as they had large antlers that were proportionally big to their robust bodies. A full-grown bull could weigh up to 1,000 pounds or 400 kilograms, stand 60 inches or 1.5 meters tall at the shoulder, and carry a rack of antlers 6 feet in length. For thousands of years, the elk population thrived in its natural habitat, but the European colonization of America has dramatically impacted their existence. As people continued to settle in the region over the next few centuries, elk populations decreased due to overhunting and loss of their dense woodland habitat. By the mid-19th century, only a few specimens could still be found in the remote parts of the Rocky Mountains and other western mountain ranges. The last known eastern elk was shot in Pennsylvania on September 1, 1877, and since then, a unique subspecies from the eastern United States was never seen again. The sea mink is undoubtedly one of the least known or recently extinct animals in the United States, probably because no one paid attention to its disappearance. It was a unique species of mink that used to live alongside the coasts of Maine and New Brunswick since the last glacial period. The sea minks had a body length of 30 inches or 80 centimeters and a lifespan of up to 10 years. This species was nearly 50% larger than its closest living relatives, and they were also more robust and had a broader appearance than the American mink. The sea mink had a long, bushy tail, and the body was covered with a reddish-brown coat, which defined it from other mink species. They were semi-aquatic animals that preferred to live in coastal habitats, mainly offshore islands or rocky coasts. It gave them an easy access to their food sources and also provided shelter from predators. During the 1800s, the popularity of mink coats in Europe and America demanded high numbers of mink pelts. Being twice the size of the mink from interior Maine, the sea mink's pelt reduced the demand in half, which made them a preferred prey. The unregulated hunting, along with harvesting, led to the sudden extinction of the sea mink. They were seldom sighted after 1860, and the last known sea minks were killed in 1880 in Maine. However, the extinction date is unclear, but it's thought to have occurred between 1880 and 1920. All that remains of the sea mink today are its bones and teeth, found in thousands of archaeological sites that dot the coasts of Maine. Meet the Carolina parakeet, the only native parrot in the eastern United States. It was a genuinely unique parrot, whose unique range of living was from tropical Florida up to snowy Nebraska, which is unusual for these birds, as they prefer to live in tropical or subtropical climates. The Carolina parakeet was a relatively small, green neotropical parrot with a bright yellow head, reddish-orange face, and pale beak. It was around 30 centimeters or 12 inches long and weighed 280 grams or 10 ounces. What impressed me the most was their ability to inhabit various environments. It's incredible how these tropical birds established a native population deep into a temperate zone, showcasing remarkable evolutionary adaptation. What's even more interesting about these parrots is their diet. Just like other parrots, they consumed seeds and unripe fruits of various plants. However, unlike other parrots, the Carolina parakeet consumed the toxic cocklebur seeds, which are also considered toxic for most other animals and humans. Some reports of cats known to have died after eating these birds. Fortunately, those seeds are considered crop pests, and the parakeet was seen as the primarily pest controller against them, so farmers weren't interested in destroying the parrot population. However, this doesn't apply to other humans, their main predators. People hunted them for food, to sell their feathers, or to capture them as pets. The withdrawn lifestyle helped them avoid humans, and as late as 1896, massive fluxes were still witnessed flying across the United States. Despite being formerly widespread within its range, the Carolina parakeet had become rare by the middle of the 19th century. The bird's range shrank from east to west due to settlement and clearing of the eastern and southern deciduous forests. The last reported sighting east of the Mississippi River, except Florida, was in 1878 in Kentucky. By the turn of the century, it was restricted to the swamps of central Florida. The last known wild specimen was killed in Florida in 1904, and the last captive bird, a male named Incas, died at the Cincinnati Zoo on February 21, 1918, within a year of his mate, Lady Jane. They were officially declared extinct in 1939 after many unsuccessful attempts to rediscover such a magnificent bird. The United States would be a much more colorful place if only these magnificent birds were still flying across the sky like a rainbow, even in areas where parrots are not typically found. It would be fascinating to see tropical birds decorating cypresses instead of palm trees. The Steller sea cow is an extinct saurian described by George Steller in 1741. At the time, its range was limited by the Commodore Islands in the Bering Sea between Alaska and Russia, but its living area extended across the North Pacific during the Pleistocene epoch. Steller described sea cow as a meek and gentle creature that used to live in large herds, primarily fed on kelp, and spent the majority of their days grazing for food. They were slow swimmers, and in fact, the historical account suggests that it was difficult for them to get completely submerged. Some adults from the 18th century have reached weights of up to 10 tons or 22,000 pounds and lengths of up to 9 meters or 30 feet. Their body structure resembled that of a large seal, but they possessed 2 sturdy forelimbs and a whale-like flank. Their head was relatively small compared to their body size, and their mouth was small and toothless. Steller's sea cow was known to move quite slowly, which made it a perfect target for humans. It became common for seal hunters and fur traders to butcher the animal in masses. This was a huge problem, as the Steller sea cow population was already declining at the time of its discovery, with an estimated population of only 2,000 individuals. This remaining population was quickly wiped out. Just 27 years after its discovery, the Steller sea cow went extinct, with the last official sighting taking place in 1768 near Copper's Island on the Russian Far East. However, there is a high chance that the Steller sea cow could survive for much longer, as almost 200 years later, in 1963, the official journal of the Academy of Science of the USSR published an article announcing a possible sighting. The whaling ship reported a group of large marine mammals grazing on seaweed in shallow water of Kamchatka. The crew reported seeing 6 of these animals, ranging from 6 to 8 meters or 20 to 26 feet, with trunks and split lips that swam very slowly. Eventually, it could be the last time in history that humans saw Steller sea cow before its full extinction. The United States became home to numerous wildcats, and one of them is the eastern cougar. It's a recently extinct subspecies of cougar, or puma, that used to inhabit the eastern part of the United States and some parts of Canada as well. This noble creature was quite similar to the western cougar, which is also known as the mountain lion, but they still had some differences. The eastern cougar had a long tail, which was an adaptation to help them maintain balance and steer direction swiftly while chasing prey. Its entire body is covered with short fur, ranging from tan to light brown. This fur becomes more tawny during the summer months and shifts to gray in the winter. This change in coloration likely serves as an adaptation for camouflage, helping the puma blend in with the dry leaves of summer and the whitish snow of winter. Eastern pumas are solitary, territorial hunters. The males usually protected their territories from other males by making a pile of pine needles, leaves and twigs and urinating upon it. The primary food source for the eastern puma was the white-tailed deer. These carnivores would typically hunt and consume meat from a single deer over a span of about 7 to 10 days. Large carnivores like eastern cougar play a crucial role in regulating the ecosystem and deer population. Before the arrival of the Europeans to America, the cougars were widespread across the continent. The only place they didn't inhabit was the Arctic territory of Canada and the United States. However, since the 1800s, European settlers began rounding up and killing off cougars in the northeast. Some were trapped and killed for their fur, while others were culled to prevent the cats from interfering with livestock. By the 1900s, cougars were not seen so often, only in the remote parts of some poorly inhabited states of New England. In 2018, the eastern cougar was officially declared extinct, with the last official sighting taking place in Maine in 1938, when a hunter killed a lonely puma. Some unconfirmed sightings from the 1970s state that some breeding populations still live in New England, but nothing was confirmed with photo or video material. However, in recent decades, some populations from the Midwest started colonizing the eastern states once again, so we can hope to bring some cougars back to their natural habitat. Between 15 and 20 million years ago, a new family of birds emerged on the islands of Hawaii. This family, the Mahadai, became known as the Hawaiian honey-eaters, representing 7 different creatures that used to inhabit various islands and ecosystems, and one of them was the Kawaiioo, the last extant member of this genus, as other birds became extinct because of several factors, including the introduction of invasive predators and habitat destruction. The Kawaiioo was an endemic species native to the island of Kauaʻi and is considered one of the smallest of the Hawaiian ʻōʻōs, measuring just over 20 centimeters or 8 inches in length. Its head, wings and tail were black, while the rest of its upper body was slaty brown, transitioning to rufous on the rump and flanks. The throat and breast were also black, featuring prominent white barring, especially in females. Like other honey-eaters, it had a sharp, slightly curved bill for sampling nectar. The Kawaiioo was very vocal, making hollow, erratic, flute-like calls. It would be great to hear this dude singing, so I want to show you a record that was made sometime before its extinction. The audio was recorded by Robert Schellenberg on July 3, 1975. The Kawaiioo were common in the subtropical forests of the island until the early 20th century, when its decline began. Since 1934, it has been the last bird of its kind, as other species have become extinct because of numerous factors, but deforestation and mosquito-transmitted disease have played a key role in it. The Kawaiioo made its nests in the holes of the large trees, and as mosquitoes took over the lowland trees, the birds had to go higher in the mountains. Higher elevation forests lack tree cavities, so few, if any, nests could be made. By the early 1960s, the bird had an estimated population of about 34 living individuals, meaning they had no chance to restore the healthy amount of birds. Hurricane Iwa came in 1982 and killed the last female bird. However, the last male bird survived for 5 more years and was occasionally heard singing for a mate. Imagine how sad it is to sing for 5 more years trying to find anyone, but no one will hear you. Fortunately, we have a recording of it, so you can hear the last singing of the Kawaiioo that was supposed to be a duet. The male bird was last sighted in 1985, and the last sound recording was made in 1987 by David Boynton. After several unsuccessful expeditions, the hope of its finding was lost. Only in October 2023, the Kawaiioo was officially declared extinct. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. Here are some other videos you can watch as well.